Star Citizen 3.24 is finally in testing with Evocati, but where the heck did 3.24 come from? I haven't gotten to play the update myself, but I have been able to see a bit and talk to quite a few people who have. And while this is likely the biggest cargo update we've seen since we started development, and is sure to actually have an impact on how you play the game, this update also has introduced many players to the tumultuous nature of Star Citizen's development. 3.23 features went to 3.23.2, and 3.23.2 ended up being eaten by 3.24. And now it's supposed to be the last patch before 4.0 still. So why did this all happen, and what do we actually get out of 3.24? Thank you for coming to my tomato talk. So at the end of the day, the important thing for most of us is what we get to play. So let's start there. Just keep in mind, these videos take several days to come out. By the time this is published, the smallest details will likely have changed. So I'm going to give you overviews of the features we're getting, with some select specifics of this early testing period. But we're going to wait until 3.24 actually goes live to really judge how well these features have released. Now in 3.24, cargo and player inventory will be seeing its most significant update ever. Inventories are being physicalized to allow for more interactions across every part of the game. The cargo refactor that began in fall of 2022 is reaching its peak with the removal of the all-powerful local inventory pools at cities and their replacement with physicalized kiosks that allow you to access everything you own at that location. This change makes a huge difference to cargo haulers, but also will affect players as they move around their own supplies. This is likely going to slow down your preparation period a bit in the short run, at least your initial loading of the ship that you're flying. But most players won't find themselves moving more than a few SCU at any given time anyways when it comes to supplies, which is going to take you maybe an extra minute or two to load your ship. And even then, you'll be free to pay a service fee to have your ship loaded for you, just like the game already does now. Though the times we've seen so far are in the hours for larger ships, so the auto-loading mechanic is sure to see a lot of balancing as we go on, because that's just unacceptable. The new hover trolleys in this patch are also meant to assist you in moving boxes if you decide to do so manually, but the time savings are yet to be seen as it takes a pretty limited amount of cargo. Maybe if it allows boxes to stack, it would make more sense for those small and medium-sized ships to take 1 or 2 trips of this rather than back and forth over and over with your multi-tool. Speaking of time savings, 3.24 is going to allow you to specify what size boxes you want to be loaded into your ship. This should make a difference long-term for loading times, weight distribution, and availability of volume in your ship. Right now though, it doesn't save any time to increase the size of the boxes in order to lower the quantity. These changes are mainly aiming to emphasize the ships built for hauling and the strengths that they choose. While your exterior loading hull, sea, or raft might get you in and out of the station quickly with new goods, they will make cargo much easier to scan, shoot off, and steal for pirates. This will also let us pick various cargo assignments with various amounts of boxes and determine the sizes we need for the commodities that we want to deliver, and we'll be using those new freight elevators to do so. Players use new freight elevators to spawn anything they need from their own inventory to load into their ships, and they can use storage access kiosks around public locations to get anything they need for personal gear. So when you spawn in your hab and need to get dressed, buy something from the shop that you need to retrieve from the city inventory, or just need to grab a couple more things before spawning your ship, this is how you'll do it. In principle, it's a great idea for the tactility of the game, but in practice, it's a bit rough. At least in the first version, no search functionality and the clunky requirement of going back into the old personal inventory to attach items you already selected on the storage access kiosk is a huge time waster. I do hope this all takes place on that UI itself, with a setup akin to what you'd see in a modern RPG. You know, kind of like it used to be. But back to the freight elevators. Those will allow you to load anything you need: weapons, ammo, eventually vehicles, and actually with 3.24, cosmetics. With this patch comes furniture, hangar flare, and other things you can decorate your personal hangar with. This is Star Citizen's first ever offering of a permanent home location for players, where you can leave things as you want and always come back to the things as you left them. This space will also be accessible to your party and allow any members to call up their own supplies and goods to be loaded into your ship if needed, and vice versa. Party members can also access their own inventory pool from here. This makes for a much better method of transferring objects to each player, whether you're present or on the other side of the system, as your party members won't need you to be there to get into your hangar. This creates the first player trading system in-game, which can have immediate impacts on mining, salvage, and looting gameplay, where players can leave work orders for their friends. All this becomes more interesting when you learn large and extra large hangars also give you access to 2 freight elevators. This completely changes how my own org, the Garden Interstellar Initiative, will be preparing our events. It also means we'll be looking for more deck hands and cargo haulers if that's something you want to do. Feel free to sign up with us at gii.app. Then there are the new cargo missions. At the time of writing, they aren't quite in testing yet, but we expect cargo hauling to finally get its first major professional update since Alpha 3.0 in 2017, and the update aims to bring a lot more variety to paid contract cargo hauling. Rather than just having 1/4 SCU courier missions available to us and free trade and transport on your own dime as the alternative, missions will now cover a vast array of cargo configurations and routes to test your know-how and your ship choice. These missions will be linked to reputation across several in-game companies, as well as the overarching Transportation Guild, which will find all throughout UEE systems in the future. Over time, they'll incorporate more dangerous cargo into these missions, temperature-sensitive cargo, and even radioactive cargo that you'll need to consider carefully to complete your mission. All of this will fit into the larger game and economy, encouraging larger jobs when considering trade hubs in cities and smaller contracts for outposts and moon locations. The added reputation progression, ability to cargo haul without paying with your own money, and solidification of what is essentially the backbone of Star Citizen means a lot for industrial players and is one of the longest requested improvements to this game in the whole community. Finally, there's the Blockade Runner Global event, a scenario in which a local gang locks down the traffic in and out of a space station in Stanton. Players will have the opportunity to join in with the gang and assist the blockade by fighting incoming traffic or running the blockade to deliver the needed supplies that are being limited. This event replaces Ninetales Lockdown and offers another PvPvE scenario that heavily depends on cargo hauling as well, which is likely why this event has been held back for so long. Now, all of these additions are going to be a bit rough. Right now they're just in Evocati, but even after this in PTU and the live server, there will be more work to do on these. There are signs that the features aren't as far along as I would have hoped by now, but most things I see are solvable. While this is a bit of a first impressions look at the new update, as I haven't gotten to get my hands on, Evocati tests are at weird times, I'll have much more to say in the coming weeks, and this week's podcast over on the launch sequence will be all about the changes of 324. So make sure to check out the second channel if you want to hear a full discussion with somebody who was in the Evocati tests. This patch also sees the surprise addition of low-light capable scopes, the first rendition of long-requested night vision functionality. I haven't seen how this performs yet, but hopefully after this first iteration we see the tech expanded to include some helmets or even ship canopies in low light. With this update, we see our second major update of the year, but what used to be a part of 323 then became 323.2, and now it's simply 324, an entirely different update. So is this really a major update? Let's talk about where this patch came from. So how do Star Citizen updates even work? Way back in the day, before we could even land on planets, updates were released based on when content was ready rather than based on time. With 3.0, that whole idea changed as the company realized regular updates were better. So, save for a few updates like 3.0 itself, 3.18, and 4.0, update numbers really don't matter at all because the features in those updates are not locked to those updates. On the roadmap, you will see each feature listed as tentative until other teams across the company can test that feature with their work and make sure there are no game-breaking bugs. This is what led to the disappointment that was 4 major features being delayed from 323. While it was 4 out of 34 listed features, for many they were the only ones that really mattered in that update. While the delay was due to edge cases as the company said at the time, these features have also led to several delays to 323.2 going into early testing, which could mean more problems popped up, they want to target a higher quality release, or the problems were never just edge cases as they said. Whatever it does mean, according to CIG, the update has been considered big enough to give it a new number. There are a couple of key details to consider with this explanation. While it's easy to look at 2022's 3.17.2 update as a mark against this reasoning, which was a large enough patch for its own announcement trailer but not a new version number, that was only the case because 3.18, as I said, was a tech-focused update. So that number was reserved for the update including persistent entity streaming. As you all saw, that took a while, taking all the way up until 2023. Then there are 3.19 and 3.16, both updates that retained the codebase of their predecessors 3.18 and 3.15 respectively. These updates were significant because they showed CIG's willingness to stick with the development branch for the sake of game stability. So instead of 3.18.2 or 3.15.2, we saw new version numbers. As we reviewed last year, these new version numbers usually mean they've made a new branch of development, but it's not always the case. Hence, the update numbers don't matter at all. The features do. And for the record, 3.24 is on the same codebase as 3.23, so it's a similar situation to 3.19 and 3.16, but these things can happen for different reasons. Here, it's more of a marketing purpose, but with 3.16, as I said, game stability was a big part of the question. Either way, this is a lot of numbers. At the end of the day, this whole situation is mildly confusing, but mostly just semantics. They get to have a shiny patch number out of it, and we're still seeing the patch follow the same schedule that 3.23.2 would have. But if the update was to be 3.24 based on the features, as they said they're so big, why not say that once we knew the initial 3.23.2 was going to exist? Deciding to change the update to a major version number at the last minute shows a focus on the features in the update rather than the timing of the update, a standard which they had tried to set since 3.0 in 2017. But times are changing and numbers don't matter. It's simply best to track the features you're interested in and the latest news on them, rather than any specific update number. Now, 4.0 is a bit different, as it is specifically tied to server meshing, but you should still consider every feature scheduled for that update to be possibly moved. I'll give you previews and reviews of the updates themselves, but if it is still tentative on the roadmap, then don't put all your hopes on it, no matter what I, CIG, or anybody else says. It's always just the plan until the features read committed. Thank you for watching this video. The update process of Star Citizen can be a bit annoying and at times confusing. Hopefully this cleared some details up for you and shined some light on 3.24. I'll continue to update you on development progress this year and for the foreseeable future if you're looking for more Star Citizen content. And if you're interested in deeper dives into development and podcast discussions, you can check out my second channel, Space Tomato 2 as well. I apologize if there was any background noise in this recording. Because we still haven't been able to get internet at our house, I have to record everything at my wife's parents' place. Since I don't get to dictate what happens in this place, I'm trying to get you whatever I can. For anybody who did stick around this long, I do really appreciate you watching the whole video. I hope you learned something in this one, and I'll catch you in the next.